Hello to everyone and the internet. It is currently Thursday, January 3rd. I am Nathan of Washington, and you are watching The Globalist, and this is the news. Alright, everybody, how are we doing today? So, Trump says that January is the month of hunting and arresting pedophiles. Being a pedophile right now must be pretty damn terrifying, when a guy like Trump is targeting your ass with all the force of the United States and its police force. And considering how the police force acts on a day-to-day basis, anytime they would be after me, I'd be pretty damn terrified, since most police encounters usually involve people getting shot. And on a quick side note, they don't shoot you just because you're black. Alright? By the way, it's not just because you're black. Statistically speaking, just as many white people get shot by cops than black people. And I'll tell you why it is. For whatever reason, anytime the police perceive you as any kind of threat, to potential threat to their safety, that somehow gives them a license to shoot and kill you. And sometimes the definition of this threat can be awfully loose. You could be, say your pants are starting to kind of droop, and you decided to pull your pants up. And they decide to interpret your reaching for your waistband as he's got a gun. It's because of shitty police training. They're just trained really badly these days. Why that is, I'm not sure. Some believe in a police state conspiracy, but anyway, I'm getting way off topic. Personally, I don't believe in this police state conspiracy. I don't believe in a police-state conspiracy. I believe in just really shitty training. Incompetency, in other words. Mass incompetency. Anyway, moving on. While we debate white privilege, mansplaining, and manspreading, and other such first-world problems, people were being enslaved and raped. Because 2018 was the year of human trafficking. It was horrible. And Obama-era policies were largely to blame. However, Trump in the last few months have shown why a civilian president is what's best for business. Because choosing a president from the political class, the people in political class, they've been in politics for most of their adult lives, if not their entire adult lives. People have been in it for that long. Basically, they're corrupt because they've been on a lifelong quest for power. Whereas Trump, never been a senator, never been a governor, never been a mayor. He was an independently wealthy private citizen, and that's how it should be. And this is one of the areas where he is really kicking ass. Because he understands the struggles of the civilian, albeit mostly from a rich, wealthy class, first-class perspective, but civilian nonetheless. There were 500 convictions in 2017 for the Department of Justice, and 530 for the FBI. So that's literally 1,030. The internet helped the growth of human trafficking, unfortunately. And I probably want to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole here and blame the dark web for that one. I mean, dude, even I was skeptical to the existence of a dark web, until on my wonderful Ubuntu machine here, I went and I downloaded Tor and started doing a little bit of dark web browsing. It only took me 5 minutes for me to realize that the dark web, yeah, it's a thing. It is absolutely a thing. Like I said, my position is the sane one. I go wherever the evidence takes me. I am always a little bit skeptical, but I always go wherever the evidence leads. And I think the dark web helped the human trafficking. You can literally buy people online through the dark web. That's a thing that actually happens. I'm not kidding. The world that exists today is really messed up. And it's really not for any one reason. It's actually up for so many reasons. But in my opinion, good old DJT comes from a part of the world that isn't quite as messed up as the rest. He comes from the world of business, where your religion is money. And there are rules to the game, so to speak. But anyway, bottom line is, Trump is cracking down on pedophiles and human trafficking, is cracking down on it with the weight of a fucking 2-ton anvil that they can never hope to lift off of it. For the month of January at least. Moving on, more Trump news. It says the only politician truly on Trump's side is Rand Paul. Rand Paul was saying that the establishment, in his words, well, what he termed the New World Order, fear DJT, which is Donald John Trump, by the way. Now, see, I don't really believe in all this New World Order, Illuminati, deep state crap. They can't even provide philosophical evidence, let alone any hard evidence. And for those of you who don't know, philosophical evidence is when, if you can prove how something works in principle, then that opens up the possibility that it might exist. But they can't even do that for the deep state or the New World Order. They only do like, look at this weird thing that kind of leans in that direction of what I believe in. Oh, a hand sign. Oh, a thing on a dollar bill. In other words, a trail of breadcrumbs. Yeah, breadcrumbs could mean a conspiracy. Breadcrumbs could also mean that someone's just eating bread. But nonetheless, it is true that there is an establishment within this country, a sort of business as usual framework structure, mostly comprised of establishment Democrats, neocon warhawks, and the military-industrial complex. In other words, just the same old political class that has existed since I think around the Vietnam War, when the career politician became a thing, and then we went from a 3-class society to a 4-class society: the rich, the middle, the working, and the political. That's your New World Order. That's your deep state. That is your establishment. It's the establishment. So until you can prove a New World Order beyond the terrorist organization or the wrestling stable from WCW, I'm just going to keep calling it the establishment. And I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. But it is true that no one within the establishment likes Trump at all. And they really will do anything to try and get him removed. I think they're pissed at the idea that a civilian president, someone who's not a career politician, could come along, take a position normally filled by one of their rank, and then do it better than they ever could hope to do. If we're being perfectly honest. You know why he's doing it better? It's because he's not corrupt as they are. He has no particular desire for political power beyond just what is necessary to achieve his goals. It's pretty obvious what Trump really wants. He wants to put America first. He wants to pick us back up out of the hole we've fallen into and restore America's status as the wealthiest, most peaceful, and most stable country in the world, which that was the status we had back in, like, the early 60s. He's trying to bring us back to that golden age of American success. And honestly, me personally, I think at this point, that is an impossible goal. We have lost too much money. We have lost our way. We have lost sight of what we need to do. We might become better than we are now, but to become as great as we once were, I don't think that's going to happen. It doesn't seem possible. We just lost too much money and lost too much perspective. But personally, the establishment should be frightened of Trump, because he could literally end their power base for good, since he commands such an influence from his supporters. He almost has me convinced to become one of his more hardcore fans. He's almost got me. The only reason I don't go all the way is just because I don't like to be married to any particular worldview or become married to any particular, like, cult following. Mostly because I'm afraid of cognitive dissonance or severe disappointment, severe depression from extreme disappointment, which is a real thing. I don't like to get to be too married to any particular thing for fear of its failure. But some people think that Trump is like a cult leader. People talk about how faith in Donald Trump as president is almost like a cult. And I kind of agree. In a way, it sort of is one. In a weird, sort of backwards kind of way. But many followings of charismatic politicians can seem that way. You could call Nazism a cult. You could call support of Bolsonaro a cult. You could call Mussoliniism a cult. For sure. And no, that was not me comparing Trump to Hitler. I was merely speaking on the style of politicians that are known as charismatic politicians. There's the business politician who just talks straight facts and saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then there's the charismatic politician who gives passionate speeches and stirs people up into a frenzy about what they want. So don't buy into the media bias. Trump is no more racist or sexist than the average man. But yes, he could easily end up stealing the reins from the establishment power base. He has the influence. He could do it. Alexandra Pelosi, daughter of Nancy Pelosi, says she'll cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding. Well, we already knew that Nancy Pelosi was a winning Democrat, but we didn't know she was a Muslim too. See what I did there? Yeah, that's kind of a dark joke. But hey, you know, dark humor is like food. Not everybody gets it. What she's basically saying is she's speaking to the effectiveness of her mother Nancy as a politician. People want Nancy Pelosi. They want that sweet Pelosi pie. That didn't sound right. Let me rephrase that. They want Nancy. They just want Nancy Pelosi. They like her. She's like the Floyd Mayweather of the Democratic Party. All right. There we go. Yeah, she's like Floyd Mayweather. And honestly, if anyone was even remotely a legitimate threat to the Trump presidency, it would be Nancy Pelosi. Oh God, could you imagine Nancy Pelosi ran for president? Oh, I don't even want to think about it. I do want to see another 4 years of Trump, because his job isn't done yet. We still need that wall, and we still need him to take the power away from the establishment, which is what I expect him to do. Anything else he does that ends up hurting us in the long run, we can deal with later. For right now, he's doing what we need done. We need that border wall, and we need that establishment to be ruined, so that power can go back to the people where it belongs. And Nancy Pelosi could be a huge threat to that end. What if she decided to run for president, as opposed to, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas of the Mohicans? What if Nancy Pelosi did, in fact, run for president? She'd have a pretty solid chance of winning. I mean, look how much of the things she wants people vote for, or the fact that she's been voted into Congress as many times as she has. It would be frightening to think. I hope she never gets the ambition. Aside from Alexandra Pelosi's colorful example of her mother's winning status as a politician, I sincerely hope that we get 4 more years of Trump, so he can get his job done. Trump now says Iran can do whatever it wants in Syria. And fundamentally he is right, in that what Iran does is none of our business. However, Syria probably has honestly had enough of being picked on. And Syria itself will most likely fight back against Iran. Yet another bloody war in the Middle East. I mean, before this video is over, I just want to go on a short tirade about the Middle East and why I do not like Middle Easterners. I don't know what it is about that Middle East, but just something about it seems to drive people nuts, and they start tearing at each other like wild dogs. Why that is, I'm not sure. It's just something about the so-called Holy Land that seems to drive people bonkers. An aunt of mine once told me, you should visit the Holy Land. You never come back the same. And I agree, you don't. Some people come back violent. Some people come back assholes. Some people come back hella poor. I don't like Middle Eastern culture. It's not about the color of your skin. It's not about your anatomy or biology. It's more about just your culture. Your ethnic culture. If I have an issue with a given race, it's only because of what their ethnic culture is like. I'm particularly not too fond of Afghanistan. Partly because of the fact that in Afghanistan, a guy who's having a quote-unquote sexual emergency because he's currently horny and aroused in the middle of public and just decides to grab whatever woman or child he sees fit, boy or girl, and rapes them in the back of an alley, and no one bats an eyelash. They just kind of turn their head and look away. They don't even talk about it. It's just so normal in their Afghani culture that it's just taken for granted. They completely ignore it. Like it's not even that big a deal. If it happens, it happens. That is completely disgusting. I mean, there is the Afghani practice of bacha-bazi, where you take a preteen boy off the street, dress him up like a girl, teach him erotic dance, and then if you feel yourself aroused enough, you can fuck him up the ass. And that is actually a popular middle-class thing in Afghanistan. An activity they like to take part in. Violence and sexual abuse is quite common in the Arab and Egyptian world. And that, to me, is completely sickening. Even just thinking about it literally makes me want to vomit. And my problem with Middle Eastern Jews is just how completely violently fascistic they can be. Particularly Ashkenazi Jews. It's almost like something of the Nazis rubbed off on them. Almost. And it's mostly in their government. I'm sure there are some perfectly decent Middle Eastern Jews. Hell, I'm sure there's some perfectly decent Afghanis or Egyptians. I just haven't seen them yet. But just because you don't see a thing doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Can't see the wind. Can't see God. Doesn't mean they're not there. But I'm sure some of you leftists and SJWs in the comments are like, oh my god, he's racist, kill him, ah, dox. I am only racist to the extent that I happen to not like some ethnic cultures of certain races. Some of their native cultures. But only because those cultures are truly disgusting and reprobate. Their biology has little to do with it. They can either come here and assimilate and acclimate to our culture, or they can work on their own culture and try to improve it. Who knows? Maybe there's some hope for the Middle East. Maybe they can become better. Maybe not. But I can only hope. Anyway, that's it for the Young Globalist today, folks. I'm out.